Guys, I dodged an insurance office from hell. Now, welcome to Danny Forever. I'm your host, Danny, and here where I talk about all things God, family, of course, being a mother, motherhood, building generational wealth, and being creative. So let me go back in time a little bit and kind of catch you up to where I've been. So I moved to Dallas, Texas. I transitioned away from education and decided to go into insurance because eventually I want to open up my own agency, because I feel like excuse me, sorry, that is an aspect that I feel like, or the vehicle rather, that's going to help me build generational wealth. Honestly, it was God-led. Is nothing I would have initially picked for myself. Sorry. Something I would have picked for myself. But here I am. Let me see. I've been here in Texas since 2023. And since then, I've only, now, went on my third job, which sucks. But the two of them, I decided to leave. One, because it was still in education and I was trying to transition to insurance. And two, it wasn't my fault. So this is where the story truly begins. So I was at an insurance office where I worked at doing sales, so selling insurance, right? And loved it. Had my own office. It had a nice view. I loved my coworkers. I cared about the boss. He was cool, but he made a decision and decided, I'm going to close this office. No hate against him. More power to him. He decided that he's going to do something that's just going to transition into something that's going to benefit his life a little better, which I'm okay with. Like, you know what I mean? That's your life. We're called to different things, and we're, times we're in life, we're going to pivot. So in that time when this happened, before it happened, God was already telling me to quit my job, to invest in myself, to pursue entrepreneurship. Well, not necessarily pursue it wholeheartedly, but like go in that direction of like entrepreneurship. And I honestly, even though in the back of my mind, deep in my heart, my dream, and which aligns to my character, is, and what I resonate with, is to be an entrepreneurship. I was like that since I was little. When I was little, I used to wash cars literally for money. I would sell candy, babysit. Eventually I started selling cupcakes and brownies at my school. Bro, I was making $130 a day from that, which was crazy. See, I already had the taste of entrepreneurship young, and I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And eventually I went to the beauty industry and I was freelance doing hair and makeup. But sometimes that's like, you're wearing so many hats. And then as a single mom now of a 13-year-old, I'm still wearing so many hats. So like, that can get overwhelming, and just like, you want some sense of stability. But what I've learned, especially with what God has told me, I told him, like, I think I was fighting this entrepreneur, like, just track in life. And I was like, fighting it. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying, God, but it's not for me right now. But in fighting it, that's when I was asking him, like, I just want a stable job. Like, I want a sense of security. And he flat out told me, your sense of security and other things is a lie. Like, all those things are temporary. And then that's when it just clicked. Yeah, we can't have security in these things because they're temporary. Like, that's not in itself, like, the whole construct of that, like, whether it be a job, a relationship, anything on earth, you can't really anchored to that and pull security, because it's not eternal. It's temporary, and the only thing that's eternal is God. And so it just clicked it, and he basically was like, yeah, though you can't find a sense of security in those things because they're not me. They're temporary. And I'm like, oh, okay, my bad. But and so that, him saying that helped me to welcome the idea for real, like entrepreneurship for real. Like, okay, this is where my life is going to be on track. This is where I'm heading. Let me embrace it. So back to the story with the agent. He decides to close his office and do something different in his life. Cool beans. He cared enough about us to kind of negotiate another office, basically welcoming into their office, which in it, like, the idea in itself was like, it makes you feel grateful, because like, thank God I could have been like not have a job like instantly, and that wasn't the case. But it was like the same day we found out they were closing, it was the same day we met the other office, was the same day we like, they were like, oh, come to our office, check it out. And I thought it was like, just, you know, meet and greet, kind of like show us around. I feel like they set us up for an interview, which was like, okay, do your thing, but why would you like, I don't like that, building up a facade to it being something that it's not. Maybe they just took the opportunity, like, oh, since they're here, let's like, oh, we're getting to know them. And it was like, it was just a lot, I would say, overwhelming to process. And no one was thinking of that for us. And I'm sure it's probably overwhelming for them, because they were going to get a few new people, right? This is another office joining with your office all at the same time. But everything was like super rushed. Oh, like, basically it was like they were giving us the offer to choose their office, but we had to choose by the end of that week. Oh, you gotta let me know by Friday. And I was like, but we have a whole month, but I gotta let you know by Friday. Okay. I don't know the behind the scenes of how that works, so I was trying to give them grace, but there was just too many red flags off the rip. But anyways, it's super rush. I didn't feel like they would consider it of what we were going through. I feel like it's a little bit more overwhelming to us, because it's like we didn't choose. We basically lost a job, and we didn't choose to lose that job. We very much loved our job. And then, well, I can only speak to myself. For myself, I did like it. And then we're being transitioned into this other office where it's presented as a choice, but it wasn't really a choice. It's like, who wants to be jobless and not be able to pay rent and feed their children? Like, that's a no-brainer, right? And so don't screenshot that and use that as a meme. I'm just saying. Anyways, and then so, you know, that happens throughout the whole month before we even transition over there. They, you know, it's like we still working at this job, like we still got a job to do, but they kept like popping, like messaging us, because like, you know, it's a similar network, and they're able to find our emails and stuff like that, because it's just like under the same mother umbrella company. And like, just like, it's like we're at work and you're asking us to set up a meeting. Oh, are you free now? Or then we want to meet to discuss things. And every time they said they was going to discuss something, they never really discussed it. It wasn't a discussion, is what I'm trying to say. It was more like they told you. And then sometimes they wouldn't even get to what they said they was going to get to. And I get it, like, they're, you know, they have jobs too, and whatever, they're focusing on the other things too, and they were trying to do their best. So I don't fault them. It's just like, for me, thinking on it, it's, you don't expect a fish to live and survive on a tree just as much as you don't expect a bird like a finch to live on the bottom of the ocean and survive and live and be kosher. Like, we don't expect that. So for me, it was just environment and culture did not work for me, and I'm explaining why that didn't work for me. So like I said, they would say, oh, we're gonna discuss and something, and then the time would come and they were just telling you like, oh, this is it, take it or leave it kind of thing. And so the first instant was like regarding schedule. So they're like, okay, the first week is gonna be 8 to 5. I'm like, okay, 5 o'clock is okay. I'm used to 8:30 to 5. It just works best because I have a child who goes to daycare and school's gonna start school soon. So like with school, that start time is later than daycare. It's not as early as daycare, and the school's in the opposite direction of my job, and I want enough time to drop her off where she's not too early waiting outside. Like it could be raining or something, and you know, school doors don't open until a certain time. Like, you know, typically her school doesn't open or let them go in until 10 or 15 minutes. No, I think it's 10 minutes before they're supposed to be there. So anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes, depending who's opening the door, before their start time of going in. So what if it's raining? Like I want her to be outside in the rain for an hour before she has to go in. No, the whole reason I chose a job that's close to work is because I want to be able to drop her off and get to work on time. Like I don't want to be late. I want to be able to function in both worlds, right? Function as a mother and do my work. So I brought up so basically they was like, okay, 8 to 5, whatever. I'm used to 8:30 to 5, but since my daughter's in daycare, it's the summertime, it's only a week or whatever, cool. They was like, oh, we're gonna discuss your schedule forward, like, you know, what your actual schedule is gonna look like. And then no one discussed it with us. Like it wasn't a discussion. And then it got closer to the next week, and one of my coworkers mentions, oh yeah, we're gonna have we're gonna come next week at a different time. I'm like, oh snap, what time? I didn't really realize. And they told me it was gonna be 8:30 to 5:30, and I'm like, dang, that just doesn't work. That I have to pick her up from daycare by 5:30. You know, if you're later, daycares charge you extra. That's just how it is. So I'm like, okay, that's not gonna work. And then, of course, school's gonna start soon, so 8:30 is fine. I did it at my other job and it just worked and it was further. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But with the daycare at 5:30 is not gonna work. I still need to get there to pick her up. And so I was like, oh dang, that's not gonna work. And then one of the managers was kind of there, so he kind of overheard. And I think like things travel. And so I was like, hey, like, you know, I let him know, like, can we talk about this? Because in my mind, I was already annoyed that it had to wait this long, because I was waiting on them to have a discussion about it, because that's what they said they were gonna do. And so when this came up, I was like, okay, it looks like they're not gonna discuss it with me, so let me bring it up and let them know. And then the guy was like, oh, okay, understandable. We'll, you know, I'll bring it across the attention to the head agent, the guy that owns the office. And I mean, at the very least, you're gonna have to take a half an hour lunch. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want my hour lunch. And some people may think this is little. Oh, half an hour lunch, you know, it's not that bad, because most places have a half an hour lunch. But the reality of the situation is I'm a single parent and I don't have a lot of support. So if I'm working, I'm literally working from 8:30 to 5, right? Most things that you have to take care of, or you have to, or would have to take care of, like if something should arise, they're open between those same hours. If anything, 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Some things are rarely, especially here in Texas, which is rare. I'm used to New York and Chicago, where things have extended times, like 7, maybe 8 o'clock, to accommodate people who do have 9 to 5s. But here is like different. It's like everything is like, but anyways. So in my head, I'm like, no, I don't want a half an hour. What's a half an hour? I'm barely gonna, like, if I forget my food at home, I'm barely gonna have time to go pick it up and eat it. And then if I schedule something on my lunch, like parent-teacher conference, I tend to schedule those on my lunch. sometimes, most times, because sometimes the afternoon ones get booked up so fast. And it's just easier. Also, one lunchtime, I spent my whole lunchtime talking to basically the childcare system here in Texas, because there was an issue with the system not showing my daughter's attendance, which she was there the whole time. You know what I mean? It wasn't capturing the correct attendance. So I spent a whole hour trying to fix that. My whole lunch. Like, that, every minute counts when you're a single parent. And then not only that, I want to show up for my child. So she's going to have events, and I want to show up for that. I want to be able to, you know, move my schedule around to accommodate those so I can be present. And so right there, red flag number one, I already knew. So basically, I discussed it with him. He's like, okay, we're going to have to shorten your hour lunch to half an hour. I was like, hey, that's not going to work. Let's, figure something out. And so then he told the boss, and the guy, like, instant messaged me and was like, also in that meeting, I was like, because he said something about full time. I'm like, well, isn't 32 hours or above considered full time? Like, what do you guys consider full time? And it's like, he took offense to that. The owner took offense to that. And it's like, okay, something's wrong here. Y'all doing too much. I just asked a question. I didn't come to you any type of way with the attitude. I really asked a question. And so then the boss gets back to me. I heard you are having an issue with your schedule, and you have questions about full time, and we can discuss it. And I'm like, cool. So on the surface, that seems cool. Go to discuss it. And same thing, he prefaced with, hey, I understand you have an issue with the schedule. I just want to start off with, by law, 32 hours and more is considered full time. But what I'm paying you for is for 40 hours of work. And I'm like, okay, sir, relax. But I didn't say that to him. I kept it kosher. And then what else did he say? He's like, I understand. Then he proceeds to bring somebody else into the conversation about their schedule. I'm not looking at anybody else's schedule. I, quite frankly, do not care about anybody's schedule. I care about my schedule because that pertains to me. Okay? And in my mind, you're paying me for results. You're not paying me for 40 hours. Let's be honest. And if that's the case, like, this, I'll continue, and you'll know why. It's just too much work anyways at that location. But so that was an issue with my schedule. And he's like, I'm solution oriented. So, like, unless you have a solution, like, I need you to, and I was like, okay, yeah, I have a solution actually. And I was able to think it through and think about my schedule, what would work best. And honestly, the 8:30 to 5 will work best with an hour lunch. But if you are not going to consider it, we can do, since this office is a little bit closer to my home and the daycare and stuff, I can do 8:15 to 5:15, and I want to keep my hour lunch. And then he was like, okay, cool, I'm glad we had a solution, we can do that. Okay, cool, we can do that. Then proceeds to send an email and, like, of course, CC's me in it, and it's like, says my name or whatever and my new schedule. And it's like, okay, moving forward, this is gonna be the schedule, Bowls, hour lunch, whatever, okay. And then proceeds to say, if any schedule change needs to happen, it needs to happen 10 days prior. And it's like, bro, this is my first week working here, and you was gonna discuss this with us and didn't discuss it with us, and then I brought it to your attention, like, so you're agitating me, because now you're reiterating a policy, like, not taking other things into a factor. Like, okay, thank you for letting me know. I read the handbook, literally that week, and understood moving forward, but this was our first week. Like, you didn't even tell us. You told us this schedule, then said we're gonna discuss your first schedule moving forward. Yeah, you didn't discuss, so I'm bringing it up. Like, then you want to reiterate, oh, you need 10 days in advance. And then in my head, I just figured, oh my God, this is gonna suck because of how it played out. And then also, sometimes, let's be honest, things pop up. And even with school, daycare, they don't tell you that far in advance. And I wish they would. I've had this issue in Chicago. I had that issue here in Dallas. Daycares sometimes they'll give out calendars sometimes, but then things arrive and they don't tell you in advance. Like, and they'll be like, oh, well, what are you going to do? We're closed today, or whatever the case may be. So things like that happened to me. So I was already feeling like this is going to be a bad situation. Because for me, whatever I can control, I'm going to try to control. I love being on time. I love being, present at work. And I like putting my best foot forward. I know people are relying on me. And so I want to be reliable. Because at the end of the day, that's my reputation. And that's what I care about more. It's my reputation. And doing my job well. And of course, keeping my job so that I can pay for my child to have nice things, to be able to live somewhere and have food. Like, you know what I mean? And so already another red flag is like, okay, cool. And then also it was like they would say one thing and do the opposite. So when we came in, they prefaced with, it was so abrasive to me too, to be honest. They were like, oh, I don't know how it was in the other office. And then quite frankly, it doesn't matter. Whoa, buddy. We didn't come in here trying to compare y'all to our other office. At this point, first of all, we're adults. Second of all, we know that office is done for. We're not going back. Like, it's closed. We're grieving it. Like, can we move on? Like, I want to come in here, learn how you do it here, apply what you do here, get along, and get on. But then they preface with that, oh, honestly, it doesn't matter. We're going to train you. We're going to train you our way. And these things are going to help you be successful. And not to talk bad about that other agent, but let's be honest, we met him, we know him. He came from corporate and he takes a passive approach. We're not passive here. And then it's like, you still comparing. I don't care. Like, tell me what to do, help me, train me. I'm willing and ready. But comparing. And then it's like every chance they got, bro, it was like, first you started with you don't care. Like, I figured you would preface with that because you're trying to let us know, okay, like, don't compare us to the other office. Almost like, don't bring it up. Like, let's start something new, start fresh, and move on. But then every minute they bringing it up. Oh, I don't know how the office is over there, but we do 2 power hours. We do this over here. Okay, you don't need to bring up the other office. I'm already grieving that I'm not at the other office. I'm already grieving that I don't have my own office. I'm grieving that the offices here have windows in them and everybody's all in your face. Like, and then you gotta sitting in a room where there's 4 desks. Like, I don't want to work like that. Like, it was too much. It was annoying. But yeah, and that's another thing. Like, when we came in, they're like, oh, there's no assigned seats. People just sit wherever they want, kind of thing. No one has an assigned office, blah, blah, blah. And I just felt like they were lying about certain stuff, or just like things just apply to us. So they said that. So we under the impression, okay, there's no assigned seats other than, of course, the main manager and the owners, right? That makes sense. We're not going to go in their office, right? Even though that guy actually was like, oh, when I'm not here, actually, you can use my office, which was pretty cool. It was pretty cool of him. But the overall culture and the overall vibe was like, oh, we don't have assigned seats. Then, mind you, like I said, it was a few of us that came from the other office. So one of my cohorts, like, I love my coworkers that transitioned with me into this office. I love them dearly. Like, they're just so amazing. I feel like they're my brothers and sisters. But the one gentleman, like, we were like, him and I, we were in this one room and we were just like trying out different seats or whatever, whatnot. And so he decides to choose a seat that's all far in the corner or whatever. Mind you, they said no one has assigned seats. He goes, sit down, whatever. He's been there. He's setting up, I think, maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then one of the leads comes over and is like, oh, hey, buddy, what are you doing? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm setting up for work. He's like, oh, that's my seat. And he's like, I thought there was no assigned seats. And she was like, oh, yeah, but that's my seat. And I'm like, this again. This is a red flag. You're doing too much. And then it kind of like, the situation kind of escalated because she was just sitting there like trying to rush him to get out. And he's just like trying to take in what's happening and then, you know, move, of course. And then he says a little joke to like kind of diffuse the situation, but it ended up amping the situation. And I was like, no, why'd you say that? But anyways, I was like, it was just little things what happened, and their reaction to the little things that they were blowing out of proportion. And it was like, that to me feels chaotic and toxic, that I'm like, okay, if you're reacting like this to something little, imagine what happens when something big. That's another story, right? And so, yeah, that was just really, I didn't like it at all. And then a few things, they kept saying, oh, we don't micromanage. We don't micromanage here. And that's exactly what they would do, is micromanage. So they were teaching us how to do the process. Mind you, at this time, it's probably like not even halfway into my second week. And so we're literally have a two-pager of different pieces of information we're supposed to gather according to a certain situation. And they, you know, set a task for, I'm in sales, and then there's a service section. So it's split up service and sales. I'm doing sales. Service, you know, they have to do service stuff, whatever. But it was like, we were getting so many calls. And then, first of all, they were like, oh, we're not going to have you take calls until next week. Then they ended up having us take calls. I think one of the leads said something, or was like, oh, y'all not taking calls? And it was like, no, they told us we're not going to take calls until next week. And then, I don't know what happens. Come 30 minutes later, the office manager is like, oh, you guys are taking calls today for the next hour. I guess they just wanted to see how we're going to do. Okay, cool. For the next hour. Great. We did it for the hour like they told us. And then it was a problem when we didn't take calls after the hour. And I was like, we're going off of what you said. Like, I don't understand. We're going off of what you said. And then it was just like a problem. And then after that, we came in, and my coworker is like, are we taking calls today? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. They didn't tell us. Yesterday they said an hour. I don't know. I'm just going off of, every morning they would give us a schedule of trainings and stuff to do or whatever, and just to teach us. But it was like, it wasn't on the schedule, so I don't know. And then we finally asked, because we didn't want to like go through the day and not ask. And they were like, oh yeah, you guys are taking calls now. Okay. Mind you, I don't feel like I'm ready. And then I'm like, well, how many calls? Like, I'm trying to learn these different things or whatever. And then one day, like, I was in the middle of my power hour. I didn't, in the little instant messenger, I didn't put that I wasn't unavailable and what I was doing. And like, I'm just learning, and I didn't think about it. Bro, they go crazy, and they're on instant message like, just pick up the dang phone, da 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 da. And then the lead comes into the room because she had stepped out to do something, and was like, oh, you guys have to take the phone, pick up the phones. Why aren't you picking up the phones? And I'm like, first of all, I'm in power hour, so y'all told us when we in power hour not to focus on anything else. It's strictly for us to make calls. And then she's like, okay, you guys have to put that in the instant message thing or whatever, so we know what you're doing. I'm like, y'all say y'all don't micromanage. You micromanage right now. But I understand, because it's it's a larger office, so just to have communication. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take it. But the reaction is what I was hating. I was absolutely hating. The reaction was, for me, overstimulating. It was getting on my nerves. It was stressing me out. It was like, we're new. You're not giving us that consideration, and the way you're coming at us is like we're trying to purposely be defiant or something, and that's not the case. And then you telling us one thing and doing another, and then expecting something else. Like, it was mind-boggling. Like, it was too much. And so I'm like, okay, another red flag. Y'all getting a strike, bro. Y'all getting a strike from me. I was like, that's way too much. And then it came up again in an email. It came up again in the next morning. Oh, make sure you guys are putting what you're doing. We got it when she told us. After that, we started doing it. At least I started doing it. And it was like, it was a lot. It's like, you get up to go to the restroom, you got to put on that Teams, away, be right back, restroom, then take it off when you came back, and like, oh, lock your computers when you go anywhere. Okay, cool. But it's like, I felt like I was in jail. I felt like I was attached to my desk, ball and chain. Like, it was just heavy. It's just weighing me down. I'm like, I understand the processes. Like, okay, lock the computer for privacy reasons for the client, which I totally get, and I would do. Like, I worked at Sephora. When you get off the register, you lock it. You sign out. So that's cool. For me, is how you're talking to me, and it's the reaction. It's like, oh, this is the end of the world, and it's like, no, relax, give us grace. And then back to like me putting a task. So I'm sales, service, the service things. So if a person, I'm picking up phones now. So if a person has a service situation, then we try to transfer them over. If the person is not available for the client to be transferred to them, then we set a task. Now this where it got crazy. So not only did we have to set a task and have all the details that are required, that we're just learning, that I have to go off of the paper because I still don't know what they want in this, right? And so sometimes there's services or questions that the clients have that doesn't really pertain to the paper that they gave you. And so I would put as much detail as I could, but it's like, you're gonna call the client anyways, so whatever extra information, the client has too many questions, whatever other information you need, you're gonna have that conversation with them. So just have that conversation. At least that's what I'm thinking about. So I put what I can, and then after you set that task and described how your conversation went and put as much details, you assign it to the person. Then you send an email. At first, and mind you, they weren't even on the same page as this. At first, they told you, oh, send someone a email or a IM message or whatever. So I sent the person a message. Mind you, the first call that I had though, let me go back. Sorry, the first call that I had was for a client who was part of our old office, basically, essentially. Anyways, I didn't have access to their account. So with that being said, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't write anything. I couldn't set a task. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And they're like, oh, send them a team message and then write a note and bring it to them in their desk. I'm like, what? Why? What? Anyways, so I did that. And then the lady messages me like 10 minutes later. I'm doing something else, getting a call, putting a task in. And she's like, oh, I'm waiting for the task. I said, we don't have access to that, to those accounts, like you guys said. So I have no access. I can't put a task in because her account is not coming up for me. And then she's like, oh yeah, sorry, my bad. Hey, bro, you're getting on my nerves. And she be like, little big eyes, like, oh, like I'm waiting for it. Like, chill. Then I do another task, send it. On top of like I told you, putting this description, putting as much information, you set them as the person to the task. Then the lady's like, oh, you have to email it to me, right? With what's called a snippet or screenshot of the task you sent, right? Embed it in the email. Send me the email. then copy the timestamp and the body of the email and put that into the system in the notes under that task. And I'm like, by the time I do all that, I should have been able to know how to help the client. I should have been able to help the client at that point. Because, like, why am I doing this? I'm making your job easier as a service person, and it's making my job harder as a salesperson when I'm going to sell. And then they were having issues like with us picking up calls because they didn't feel like we were picking up calls as much. But it's like, if a call comes in, why are we like, as salespeople, and we got to do other stuff, why are we going quick to pick up the calls? Like, I thought service picks up the calls. If we see, okay, it's going on a little bit too many seconds too long, then grab it or whatever so that we're able to help the client. But it's like, no, you gotta, as soon as someone calls, pick it up. But I'm in the middle of something. So if I'm in the middle of something and doing my actual job, how can I continue to do that? But anyways, it was just annoying. And then one day I was like, they said, sales only has to pick up 5 calls. Okay, so I low-key started tallying, okay, how many calls I picked up. Because you're not gonna tell me I would have, only have to pick up 5, but you have to, I'm still learning your processes, so it's taking me a little bit longer, and I still have my job that I have to do. And so I guess they just talk too much. Like, I guess word got to the boss, and then in the meetings and in chat, if you're tallying or if you're counting how many calls you made, you're wrong. You're doing it wrong. And it's like, you're overbearing. But anyways, so I was like, okay. And then it went from 5 calls to picking up 10 calls. I was like, make up your mind. Like, make up your mind. And so I was just super frustrated and overwhelmed because it's like, I'm like still learning. And then the way you guys are handling the learning process is super frustrating. Sorry, I want to cry. But anyways, then another day, I still was counting. I didn't care. I was counting. I just didn't tell anybody. I was doing my own thing, right? I picked up 10 calls. And out of those 10 calls, only 1 person called to actually get a quote. And so it was like, I'm supposed to be doing sales, but I'm wrapped up in all these service tasks and service stuff that how am I going to get sales stuff done? And so that was frustrating. And then, mind you, this whole time I felt super overlooked since the beginning because my cohorts, I love them. They're amazing, and I hope God does great things with them. Like, they're really great people, and I love them. And it's not to talk bad about them in any way, but the office was just showing them more respect and like shouting them out more than me. And it's like, cool, all right, do your thing. So they were doing that in the beginning, just showing them mad love, not really talking about me or like giving me props or for anything. So I'm like, okay, I'm average to y'all. Okay, cool. And then I'm like, okay, I like to keep quiet anyways for the most part. And I know, like, you're not really seen when you're quiet. And so I don't care. I want to get my job done. I want to make money and I want to go home at this point. But they were doing all that, super hyping them up. Oh, we love da 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 and da 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 da. And then one time I had a training and we're like role playing. When it comes to role playing, I get really nervous, and especially if there's a lot of people. So naturally, when I'm nervous, I laugh. Now, it could be something terrible. It could be something extreme. Like, eventually I'm gonna get to the point where I'm crying or like tearing up of a situation if it's like, grim or a little bit morbid in a way. Has to do with like mortality. Like, eventually my emotions is gonna catch up, my real emotions. But initially, if I'm nervous, I'm laughing. Like, I used to laugh when I was little when I used to get hit. Not because it didn't hurt. It hurt. But it was like, bro, I was nervous, so I was just laugh. And it will make me get hit worse, which is crazy. It's another story. But that's just how I am and still am as an adult. And I hate it. I personally hate it. Because it's like people misunderstand the laughter. But anyways, sorry, now I'm getting emotional. We're practicing and doing role play. That's a big thing in an insurance company. You're role playing to get over objections. So, of course, I laughed in it or whatever a couple of times. And then the lady I was training was, oh, why are you laughing? And I'm like, I'm just nervous. And that's what happens when I get nervous. And she's like, oh, well, you got to get used to it. I'm like, bro, chill. And it's like, now you're making me upset because I'm in front of other people and you're doing that. Sorry. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I got over the giggles and I did my role play, and then she gave me feedback and I gave her feedback. She's like, oh, what can I do better? Whatever. And then the next day in the meeting, she shouts out my other cohort for doing a good job at the role play, but didn't even mention me. Okay, but I overcame my nervousness. I was able to tell you about the coverages and talk about the coverages and pivot to other stuff. Like, whatever. I didn't do a good job. Cool. Do you? Oh, maybe I did a good job. I just didn't stick out. Cool. Great. And so already there, I was like, okay, I'm feeling overlooked. I'm overwhelmed and stressed. And they're micromanaging. That's not a good fit for me already. And I forgot what I was going to say. And I'm being hindered by our old office. Like, we're being hindered because we're being, like, it's still comparing. Like, it's just weird vibes. And so I was already feeling like, okay, one, God is telling me to leave, has told me to leave, wants me to focus on entrepreneurship. So before I even came to this that month that we started there, I was already scheduling interviews, and I already made a few interviews, and I already got like 3 or 4 offers. But one of the offers that I knew that I was going to take because I felt like God was leading me there didn't start until a month later. So I already kind of low-key knew that I was going to leave. But I wanted to check them out to like, okay, do I reconsider? Like, is this really where it's at? Because there were good benefits. And that's kind of like why I was reconsidering, because of the benefits. But then let's go to the commission structure. The commission structure, like the barrier to like entry of like hitting commission was, first of all, you gotta break that barrier every month. Break the barrier every month. You're not just getting commission on the stuff that you're selling. Like, no, you have to hit certain thresholds, certain criterias. And it was just a lot. I'm like, okay, when am I ever gonna hit commission? Because not only the barrier premium amount was high, you had to do other things. You had to get Google reviews, referrals, a certain amount, and you had to set some other appointments and sell $150 worth of premium for life insurance. And it's like, okay, that was already a lot on its own. But my thing is, at first I was like, oh, okay, we can do that. That's doable. In a smaller office, I was already in the 20K area. So in a bigger office where we're getting more calls and more leads and a bigger book to kind of reach out to and get business, in my head I'm like, okay, that's reachable. But then like just seeing all the work we had to do and how like so many service related stuff we had to do, it was like, how am I gonna get my sales job done? And then they told us, okay, the office manager said, oh, we're only gonna have you do 1 hour power hours. He didn't tell us when we're gonna stop doing 1 power hours or whatever. 1 hour power hour. Oh my goodness, that's a tongue twister. He just said we're doing 1 hour power hours or whatever. So we started doing that, and then the other team lead is like, oh, y'all did y'all power hour? Oh, can you send me an email with your results? I'm like, okay, cool. How do you guys like that outline? She showed me. She's a doll. She was good at training and showing. She's a good trainer, I think. But where it's just like annoying, it was like, oh, okay, we do 2 power hours. Like, that's the minimum. It's like, okay, cool beans. we're going off with the office manager, because it's like leads, office manager, then the bosses. That's what he told us. Okay. And then so I don't know if the office manager reiterated that to the boss either. And I don't know, like, it's like they talked but didn't communicate at the same time. And so then we're getting, like, the boss is prefacing or, like, ensuring or what I want to say. Anyways, he keeps reiterating that, oh, you got to do 2 power hours, 2 power hour, 2 power hours. And it's like, okay, who does this pertain to? Is it the rest of your crew that's been there for a while? Or is it for us? When does that start? Because we were told one thing. And I digress. And that was just annoying. So all these things, boom, between what God is telling me, he even gave me a dream. God even gave me a dream of, because I felt like he was leading me to a different insurance carrier to work for. But I kind of like pushed it off and was like, oh, it's not going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to get in that. In order to do I wanted to do their program where they have like a fast track program to become an agency owner. But the base pay for that, they kind of really lowball you. And I'm like, oh, is it worth it? I don't know. But I was kind of pushing that off. And then he gave me a dream with the name of the other carrier and stuff like that. And was like, leading me to pursue and go that route. And he even brought up the name of the program. I'm like, okay, so I have to do the program for this company. I can't stay where I'm at. So between that and between all the red flags, it got to a point, even so I was dragging my feet, and God was like, you're planting yourself. And he was like, he told me like something along the lines of, you gotta hurry up and get the ball rolling in this area, because you're gonna run out of options. And I was like, okay, dang, I'm gonna run out of options, whatever. And so first of all, I don't care what's happening. It could be the best situation in this job. If God is calling me to do something else, guess what? I'm going to follow God. So in my heart, I was like, whatever I do, the one thing I can't do is be disobedient to the Lord. And so, and besides, I trust him. He hasn't led me astray thus far, even though things have been difficult that he's asked me to do. And it's been like seasons where it's like, it wasn't ideal for me, but eventually I got through it and got over it. So between God is number one, him telling me that I already decided that my last boss was going to be my last boss. And so then having to deal with all these red flags and them popping in your face. Oh my goodness, one time in the instant messenger, the boss was sending instant messenger, but I was like, I think I just got off of my power hour, or I was in my power hour or something. No, I just got off the power hour or whatever. And then I pulled it up and I looked at it, but I had some tasks that I was gonna work on. So I saw the message and I didn't fully understand the first message. And then the boss sent another message responding to that message and was like, oh, okay, when you make sure you're responding to that message so and so put up there with more than an emoji. I was like, oh my gosh, like, we're busy, like, what more do you want? So I'm like, okay, you want more? It's gonna be acronyms. Y'all like acronyms so much? T-Y, thank you. And then he was like, oh, something about, after that he was like, oh, because they had a problem with, like, we didn't have access to a certain folder, and they kept saying, oh, you guys have to do the folders, like, help with the folders. But it was like, we told them we don't have access to the folders. So it took them days, like, to even get us access to the folder. And even after that, the leads was like, do you have access? Do you have access? No one's given us access yet. And the office manager didn't even confirm it yet. But it was like they were so irritated that we weren't doing the folder thing, but we didn't have access to the folder. And then eventually he got it done. He's like, okay, is it there? Let me set it up. I was like, okay, cool, thank you. He was super cool and nonchalant about it. Then an hour later, another team lead is gonna come over. It's like, let me see something. So they don't even ask you anything. They don't discuss anything with you. They come up to your desk and just like, move out the way. Let me check something. She went to go check if I had like access to the folder. You could have just asked me again. Like, you've been asking me 30 million times. And so stuff like that was very irritating. I didn't have my own personal space. Now you're coming in my personal space. And second of all, you're not even letting me process what's happening and respond to it. But anyways, that was a different situation. So back to these instant message things that the boss said. The boss sending, he's like, oh, you know, more than emoji, da 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 da. And then he goes again. It's like he sent another message because we weren't responding to that message quickly. And it's like, we're not sitting on the instant messenger like, oh, let's see if the boss messaged something so we can instantly reply when we're doing our job. And then the team lead comes from across the hall, across the room, and she goes, Danny, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm working on my task. So I already, you know, changed my attention to a different task because I didn't fully understand it. I was just going to send an email saying, hey, you know, I was trying to process it and choose my words wisely or whatever. And then she comes over, what are you doing? Comes over to my desk yet again. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm doing my task? She was like, oh, respond to the boss. No, first she was like, oh, where's your instant message thing? Your Teams, pull it up. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, it's right here, down here, because I have 2 monitors and a laptop. And I'm like, it's down here. And she was like, oh yeah, that, respond to it. And I was like, first of all, I don't really understand what I read, and I'm just looked at it and I'm digesting what came in. I'm going to respond to it when I have a response. And then she was just like, it was like she was almost talking over me, and I'm like, I'm not arguing with you. I said, give me some space. I didn't get to digest it. Thank you. I'm going to respond when I have the words to it. Like, you're not going to time me and when I'm going to respond to something. Like, they kept doing that throughout the whole time. Like, even when we first started, oh, you have until Friday to make a decision. Then they give us our handbooks, and they were like, you have until Friday to submit it our first week, right? But every day it was like, oh, did you get the handbooks in? Did you read it? Did you sign it? You said we have until Friday. Am I going to wait until Friday? No. I actually think I gave it in Wednesday, and the office manager was busy, so I was like, all right, never mind. He knows this for me. It has my name on it. I signed it. I'm leaving it on his desk. So that's what I did. My cohorts. It's so funny. They forgot to like hand it in that week, and I'm like, dang, this is probably why he liked this. But anyways, for me, I'm not like that. I'm gonna give it. You gave me a week to give it in. I'm gonna take my time to read it, because this is a contract. To me, I went to business school. I know, like, you're held accountable to what you sign. So I'm going to fully read what I'm going to sign. I'm going to digest it. If I agree with it, then I'm going to sign it. At the end of the day, I still have a choice. If I choose not to sign it, then I understand, okay, this is not for me. You could terminate my position. I don't care. And I'll go somewhere else. I'm going to move accordingly. But at the end of the day, I still have a choice, and I'm still going to make that choice within my time frame. You gave me Friday, okay, I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday to give it in. I didn't wait until Friday. I gave it before. But anyways, every day asking, oh, did you hand it in? Did you go over it? Like, didn't you say we had Friday? But anyways, it was a nightmare. It was an office from hell. So, and then, okay, now a situation happened where, again, I love my cohorts, but clearly it was toxic for all of us. I think it was probably the beginning of the 3rd week. The first day, they didn't show up. Do I know why? No, it's none of my business. But that happens. And I'm not going to go too much detail into that, but I'm just going to talk about, like, just the aftermath. And so, like, that Monday it happened. It was weird. We're having our meeting. The boss reaches out. Oh, did you hear from your cohorts? I was like, honestly, no. And I didn't check my phone. Mind you, they had this strict phone policy, which wasn't going to work for me, because as a single mom who has a daughter at that, I'm going to periodically look at my phone to ensure no one's trying to contact me regarding my daughter. Just period. And so, also, doing insurance, I did this because I wanted autonomy. Like, I went out and got my license. I took the classes and paid for it. I got fingerprinted. I took the test. I paid for all of that. Did it by myself one summer before I even, applied for positions. I did that all on my own. Sometimes certain offices, they'll pay for you. They'll bring you on and pay for you to get those licenses. I didn't want anybody like I don't like micromanaging. I don't want people to hold that over me. I paid for it on my own. I was responsible for it. But anyways, he asked me, oh, did they reach out? I'm like, honestly, I didn't check, and I haven't looked at my phone because, once again, that phone policy was very strict. And he's like, oh, well, can you look now? No, I can't. You're the boss. Like, you're the boss. You have another boss, your husband. You have an office manager, and you have 3 team leads. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 leaders, 6 types of managers. One of them can call and text them. And mind you, I thought we solved this issue when all the managers text all of us because of something that happened a week previously, so that we all can have their numbers. So at the end of the day, you have their numbers, you reach out to them, and that's it. Leave me out of this. I have nothing to do with that. And so he's like, oh, can you check now? Bro, now you thinking you would tell me what to do, like, all the time. Like, no, actually I can't. That's your job. You do it. I didn't hear from them, and that's it. You asked me, and that's it. And so this escalated. They kept asking me about them. It's like, first of all, I don't know anything you don't know. Maybe I do. And even if I did, I'm not telling you. But I'm telling you, I don't know. So at the end of the day, you asking me and keep asking me, it's not gonna break down the walls of me telling you any information that I don't have. And even if I had, I'm not gonna tell you, because that's not my business to tell you. It's their business to tell you. Okay? I'm talking to the camera like you're them, like you're the guy. But so for me, that was really annoying. But then that Monday he comes, he's like, oh, I'm just checking in to see how you are, Danny, making sure everything's okay, just to let you know we love having you here. So that was the very first time that he ever told me directly that he enjoyed having me there and that everybody got along with me and whatever, blah blah blah. And it was like, to me, it was like ingenuous, because it's like, this is going on the 3rd week and y'all was too busy hyping up my cohorts and y'all didn't really say this about me, and then all of a sudden this situation is happening, and then you're thanking me. Then by the 3rd day, situations happen, whatever, one of the leads is gonna say, like, she asked me about the other people yet again. I'm like, I don't know. Like, you have their number, text them, call them, let them tell you. I don't have any, I don't live for them. I don't have any opinions for you about them. I don't have any facts about them for you. Like, you need to have that discussion with them. And then I'm on my way to leave, and she's like, oh, I just want to say, Danny, thank you for always showing up and being punctual and coming every day. And it's like, oh, yeah, you just now notice? You just now noticing me because I'm the opposite of other people. I'm doing something different than other people, and now you're noticing and now you're appreciating it? It's too late. Like, for me at that point, it was too late. It's like, it was just frustrating coming in as a cohort and them not like handling me for me. Like, me, Danisa, as a person, Danny as a person, what I bring as a person, my individual everything. Like, that's how I want to be treated, because that's why I don't know. That's just how I wanted it. But anyways, so red flags all aboard. And mind you, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect employee. Is there room to grow? Of course. But there was just too many red flags. Then this is what the nail that, that was on the coffin that made me decide, no, I'm taking this offer somewhere else and I'm going to quit this job. We have a meeting, and in the meeting, the offices aren't meeting their quotas or whatever. Everything is down across board. Like, every agent, they're not producing the numbers that's required. And so we have a meeting and the boss brings it up, but then he keeps bringing it up and he keeps bringing it up, and it's like we go over 30 minutes and it's just him like, oh, we're not at where we need to be. He kept sending messages like, oh, I need you to message me where you at right now. You should know where you're at. You should be looking at your numbers. That's the only way you're gonna get to your goals, is if you know where you're at and then you plan accordingly. The key thing, and then he'll put that, and then he'll be like, I'm waiting, or like, send me your things, or then a little bit later, emphasis on what you're gonna do to change your circumstances. And I'm like, bro, you're annoying. And then we had that morning meeting. So mind you, he was doing this throughout the week. Then we had that morning meeting. I was so drained and exhausted. There was no life poured into me in that meeting. It was all like, I just felt drained at the end of the meeting. But he kept talking about the numbers. And he's like, we got more people here. And then he talks about my cohorts that are no longer there. And he's like, oh, he singles me out. We're glad you're here. We are glad that you're here, and we like having you here, whatever. And then he mentions the other people. I don't know what, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, again, okay, you feel like you have to address it. You're the boss, whatever. And then he tells his team, oh, it's none of you guys is like, I don't want you guys to feel bad. Like, this is typical. Normally, another office, once it closed, those people don't get a chance to go to another office, or they don't, people don't just take them and absorb them into their office. This has nothing to do with you guys. You did nothing wrong. Da 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 da. And I'm looking like, y'all did everything wrong. Y'all toxic here. Like, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot of people there. There was a few people there that actually I resonated with, and individually as a person, I was like, okay, I was giving them grace and mercy because they are a person. And at the end of the day, there was aspects of them that was super cool. I just think overall the culture sucks. Like, they need to revamp the culture. It's very stressful. It's an underlying it's toxic, and there's an underline of chaos that is very overwhelming. But the people, a lot of them are sweethearts. They meant well. But I just think the dynamic of them I felt like they were just trying to overly please the boss or something, and it was just too much, and it was nauseating. But mind you, in this meeting, he's saying all the things. He keeps saying, oh, the numbers aren't there. He's like, oh, if next month you want a good one-on-one, then you need to hit those numbers and do what you need to do. If not, it's not going to be a good one-on-one for you. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this. If that's how you handle it, I do not want to be a part of this. And then that was just it. That solidified me not wanting to be there, and me realizing that I kept looking out the window because my brain kept shutting down, and I kept looking out. I felt like I was a bird trapped in a cage. That's essentially how I felt every day going into there. And then one day I came, it was super hot, and so like the shades were down. I was like, it made it worse. I'm like, I felt stuck. And then so I was like, no, this is the day. And even when I woke up, God was like, this is your last day. And I was like, I know. I really feel it, Lord. But that meeting, I didn't want to even stay longer than that. The boss ended up leaving the office because he had like something or appointment or something. And I was like, dang, come back. I need to leave. I don't want to wait till lunch. I just want to leave. And so I finally got to his office, be able to talk to him and quit. And I'm like, hey, I started off with like, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for opening up your office and welcoming us in. Because I just want to be respectful and honor him he didn't have to do that at the end of the day. And despite everything else, like, that's his business. If he wants to run it like that, he can run it like that. Like I said, it's just not the environment for me. Like, I'm a birdie. I belong in a tree. I don't belong suffocating underneath a sea, like in the bottom of the ocean. That's not for me, and that's okay too. And so I told him, I was like, just my overall, just looking at everything and how everything is coming along, I just feel like it's best for me to pursue another opportunity with another carrier because they have a program that's going to lead to my ultimate goal. First of all, I shouldn't have said that. I overspoke. And then he was like, oh, where are you going? I was like, honestly, I prefer not to share that. I'm still in the... And then I was trying to tell him why. And he's like, oh, why not? And then he was like, why wouldn't you want to tell me? It's not like I'm gonna... I don't know if what words he used, but something along the lines of not sabotage, you know, talking about like relationships that he has, or maybe I can help you kind of thing. And it's like, you're working for a different carrier, you're not gonna help me, let's be honest. And so I was like, no, I just prefer not to. So he's talking over me, so I don't even get a chance to fully explain. And so I said no. And then he was like, what changed from Monday to today? Like, let me know. Like, is there anything I could do different? I want to grow too. And it's like, it's like discernment, baby. Discernment. Make sure you have discernment, because it just felt like, it just had that undercurrent of like, he didn't really mean what he was saying. He just wanted to get the information on me. And then he was like, oh, then he was trying to make excuses. It's for compliance, just so you know that you're going to be instantly terminated from being able to sell with this carrier. And I'm like, I know. I don't go in, I feel like people don't understand that I don't go into things without researching prior to going into things. I don't go into things without at least feeling like I understand what I'm getting into. Like, I'm like, okay, I know, thank you for letting me know. I understand we're captured agents here. I understand the policies and that you're going to terminate that portion or whatever. I'm okay with that. I'm going to a different, like, I already made the decision. Like, what you mean? Like, I got an offer and I accepted it, sir. That's it. And then he goes, and then, so that was the first thing. He was like, oh, why? And he kept prying. And then he was like, oh, what changed from Monday to today? We had that conversation on Monday. And it was like, yeah, on Monday, I was still observing, filling out, and seeing. Because sometimes you get into, like, say, a relationship or a new situation, and you're getting to learn each other, right? And then you learn each other, and then you decide, okay, I feel like I have a good knowing of who you are and how this is going to track. Then I can make a decision. Do I want to continue on that track with you, or do I want to get off the track? So, sir, I want to get off the track. Like, that's it. That's my decision. And then once again, I didn't feel heard, and I felt like I was overlooked, because then he brought my cohorts into the conversation. Oh, did you discuss it with the other guys? Did you guys all plan this together, essentially? Is like he was asking. And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean? Like, no, I did not discuss this with my cohorts. This is a decision I made based on me. And this is the like, in my head, I didn't tell him this part, but in that moment, I was like, thank God, I'm quitting. Because once again, you're lumping us all together. Like, I'm an adult. I can't make a decision for myself. It has to be based on other people's opinions. No, it's based on my own opinion. It's based on my observation. It's based on my experience. And then I told him, I said, quite frankly, if you really want to know, I'm going to be honest. I'm very big in protecting my peace, because first of all, Jesus gives peace, right? He gives peace that surpasses all understanding. But I'm very big on protecting that peace that he has given me. First of all, I didn't tell him all this, but like in my head, I'm like, he gave me peace to move to a different place, and there's no peace here. So I'm not going to try to even keep the peace here. Like, no, I'm leaving. Anyways, but I told him, quite frankly, something with my daughter has come up. She has some stuff that I just found out about that is very exciting for my family, and that I want to, you know, support her in, but that entails my schedule changing a little bit for next week. And as soon as I thought about asking about my schedule to be altered that week, I got very overwhelmed. And now, for me, that's a key indicator of like, I had to really dig deep and like, why am I feeling overwhelmed? And with me just knowing the track of how everything's gone down so far, that really solidified me. Well, that was one of the things that really solidified me making this decision, because I don't want to continue being. And he's like, did you ask anyone? And yet again, sir, you're cutting me off. I'm explaining myself. You asked me a question, I'm explaining, you cut me off now. He's like, did you ask anyone? And I was like, no, I didn't ask anyone, but this is going off of the last time I asked. This is going off of that and the track record of how you guys respond. And so he was like, so why would you assume that? We adjust schedules all the time for that. And it was like, I don't care. I'm telling you my reason. And it's no, I'm leaving. Can I leave? And so that was just exhausting in itself. I'm like, the entire time I've been here, I've been exhausted. And it's like mental exhaustion because of how you guys are acting, reacting, and handle things. It's off-putting. I don't want to be a part of it. Like, how many times do I have to tell you? And he kept trying to tell me, like, where are you going? And then I got to a point where, like, I'm not telling you. Like, I just want to leave. And then he, cherry on the ice cream, cherry on the top. Okay, yeah, so, yep, we're going to have to terminate this immediately. And then I'm going to call the 2 managers over, and, you know, we can move forward. And just to let you know, I'm going to have to take money from your paycheck for for the payment that or whatever, for them having to pay to switch my license from the other office to their office. First of all, no one told me that originally, you know, you had to pay to switch me from the other office to this office. No one told me that. And second of all, I didn't know I was going to be charged for that. Like, the only thing I knew I was going to be charged for is if they help you get a license and then you quit, then they charge all that back. Mind you, oh my goodness, everything they so money hungry. Everything, they want to charge you for everything. Oh, like I only been in one other office and it wasn't like this. So it was just like, okay, this is off-putting. But I was like, that just, okay. Like, I was just so frustrated. I just want to leave. I'm like, okay, do you, whatever. So the managers come over and he's like, oh, is there anything you want to tell them? What the whole thing, like, I was just like, maybe I'm seeing this wrong, but it's like, it was just too much for me. And the way he was handling things, it was like, you're annoying me. You're getting on my nerves. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, yes. I turned to them. I said, unfortunately, I decided that I'm leaving. But I want to thank you guys for taking the opportunity of your day to train us and be willing and, you know, being, you know, having open arms. Because the 2 that were there for sure, they're really good trainers. Like, they were good at that. It's just, like I said, it's the overall culture of micromanaging, overreacting for little things. Their response on how they handle stuff, and it was just like, it felt like a very take it or leave it situation. And for me, that's not how I work well. I work well with like being empowered, having autonomy and flexibility, and it just wasn't flexible enough for me. And so that's it. That is the story of the insurance office from hell. It was from hell. It was from hell because of who I am. And I wish the people individually well. Even God told me pray for him. So I have to do that. Diligently pray for them. But, bro, I'm so, like, exhausted. I'm ready to rest. I get to rest a week before I start this new journey to eventually opening up my own agency. So stay tuned for that. I look forward to sharing that with you guys, the wonderful followers that I have. I can't wait to get to 100 followers, then to 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, however many followers. I would like to impact other people's lives for the better and share my journey with you guys. Thank you.